Russian paranoia. The US is sending us viruses using drones. The Russians are becoming increasingly paranoid about US intentions in Ukraine. One of Putin's top generals has expressed concern that the United States will use viruses and bacteria to aid Ukraine's efforts against Russia. During a televised address, the head of Russia's radiological, chemical, and biological protection troops echoed these concerns, stating that drones would be used to drop viruses behind Russian lines and infect his troops with malaria. The Russians seem to be preparing the Ukrainians to execute possible biological warfare and attack the Kiev troops. Causing harm or possibly even death through malaria is the express goal of Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, according to intelligence sources. Previous cases of Russia making exaggerated statements about Ukraine or the West have signaled an intent to carry out the very actions they warn against. According to Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, the flooding of the Kherson region by the Kiev regime may lead to difficulties related to arbovirus infections. Mosquito-borne diseases, such as West Nile fever, can emerge once the water level drops. Interestingly, Kirillov revealed that the US has a patent for a drone that can disseminate infected mosquitoes. This technology suggests a high level of technical readiness for biological warfare on the part of Moscow. Kirillov also mentioned that the US may even drop infected mosquitoes behind Russian lines. Although he did not provide details about the patent, Kirillov's statement highlights potential new forms of biological threats from the Kremlin. Mosquitoes can transmit serious diseases such as malaria when they bite military personnel, so the drone's task is to bring a container of insects to a designated location and release them, the Russian regime general added. The Moscow announcement outlines that one of the crucial steps in securing protection for Ukrainian troops is to vaccinate Zelensky's soldiers against life-threatening infections. However, the description of a US patent for infecting Russian soldiers makes two things clear. On the one hand, there is growing paranoia about the Russian state, and on the other, the Russians themselves plan to carry out biological actions against the Ukrainian troops. The other thing that we must take into account is that Moscow could be willing to use any stratagem in order to stop the advance of the Kiev counteroffensive, as we have seen with the destruction of the Novokakhovka Dam on the Dnieper River. A biological war waged by the Russians is very possible, since an infected soldier is unfit for combat missions. This was taking place while President Putin was discussing economic issues at the 2023 International Economic Forum, which he attended. The Russian leaders said that by retaking the city of Mariupol, Russia intends to transform it into a £12 billion European city. For its part, by deploying tanks full of explosives, Russia continues to intensify its fight against Ukraine. A video clip circulating online showed Ukrainian soldiers trying to fend off a Russian tank with suicide occupants. Suddenly, the tank hit a mine, which caused the tank to slow down. However, a Ukrainian soldier, not far from the scene, sprang into action and fired a rocket at the tank, starting a huge fire. Although the tank with suicide occupants was unsuccessful, it stopped at a distance of about 200 feet, as the force of the mine explosion could have killed some of the Ukrainian soldiers, due to the immense shock wave. The Ukrainian army was attacked with explosives carried by Russian soldiers using an MTLB vehicle on Saturday, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Although this has yet to be confirmed by Ukraine, Moscow alleged that this resulted in a significant number of Ukrainian casualties.